The clock struck midnight, and the house creaked under the weight of secrets. In the dim glow of my bedside lamp, I, Jalen Carter, 22, sat cross-legged on my bed, sketching the San Francisco skyline from memory, when the door creaked open. My stepfather, Victor, stood there, his silhouette sharp against the hallway light, and my heart plummeted, because nothing good ever came from his late-night visits. I'd lived in this Mission District row house for 3 years, ever since Mom married Victor and we left Oakland behind. The vibrant murals outside my window, the hum of street vendors, and the fog rolling in from the bay were my escape from the tension that clung to this house like damp rot. Victor, 45, broad-shouldered and always impeccably dressed, was a man of few words but heavy presence. His gray eyes carried a storm I could never read, and tonight, they fixed on me with an intensity that made my pencil freeze mid-stroke. "Jalen," he said, voice low, almost a growl. "We need to talk." He stepped inside, closing the door behind him. My room, my sanctuary of sketchbooks and vinyl records, felt suddenly claustrophobic. I braced myself, expecting another lecture about my wasted potential or my refusal to join his real estate firm. But what he said next was a blade to the chest. "I know about you and Mateo." Mateo Alvarez, 24, was my everything. We'd met at a community art class in the Castro, his bold charcoal strokes catching my eye before his easy laugh stole my heart. He was a barista by day, an aspiring muralist by night, with a warmth that made even San Francisco's chill feel bearable. We'd been together for 6 months, keeping it quiet because Victor's old-school values loomed over us like a guillotine. Mom, bless her, was too caught up in her nursing shifts to notice the undercurrents. But Victor, he noticed everything. How? I managed, my throat dry. My sketchbook slipped to the floor, pages splaying open to a half-finished portrait of Mateo's profile. Victor's jaw tightened. "Saw you two at the pier last week. Holding hands. Didn't think I'd notice, did you?" His voice wasn't angry. Not yet. But it carried a weight that pinned me to the bed. "This stops now, Jalen. You're not that way. You're confused. And I'm not letting you ruin your life." "Ruin my life?" The words stung, sharp and personal, like he'd reached into my chest and twisted. I wanted to scream that loving Mateo was the least ruined thing about me, that it was the only part of my life that felt whole. But Victor's presence filled the room, his disapproval a physical force. I stood, fists clenched, my 5 feet 10 inches frame feeling small against his 6 feet 2 inches bulk. "I'm not confused," I said, voice shaking but steady. "I love him, and you don't get to decide who I am." Victor's eyes narrowed, and for a moment, I thought he'd lunge. Instead, he stepped closer, his cologne sharp and invasive. "You think this is a game? You think you can just be that way and the world won't chew you up? I'm protecting you, Jalen. You're my responsibility." "Protecting me?" I laughed, bitter. "You're suffocating me. You've been doing it since you moved in, telling me who I should be, what I should want. I'm not your project, Victor." His face hardened, but something flickered in his eyes. Hurt, maybe, or something deeper I couldn't name. He turned to leave, pausing at the door. "End it with Mateo, or I'll make sure your mother knows. She doesn't need this stress." The door clicked shut, leaving me in silence, my heart pounding like a drum. I sank onto the bed, staring at the sketch of Mateo. His eyes, even in charcoal, held the softness that grounded me. I couldn't lose him. But Victor's threat wasn't empty. Mom's health was fragile, her heart condition a constant shadow. If she found out, if Victor spun it to break her, I'd never forgive myself. I grabbed my phone, thumbs hovering over Mateo's contact. Call him? Warn him? Or protect him by letting him go? The city outside hummed with life, but in here, I was drowning. I needed to see Mateo, to feel his hand in mine, to remind myself why this fight was worth it. Slipping on my hoodie, I climbed out the window, the fire escape cold under my sneakers. The night air hit me like a slap, but it was freedom. I headed for Mateo's loft in the hate, my pulse racing with defiance. Mateo's place was a chaos of paint cans and half-finished canvases, a stark contrast to Victor's sterile order. When he opened the door, his dark eyes lit up, then dimmed at the sight of my expression. "Jalen, what's wrong?" he asked, pulling me inside. At 24, Mateo was lean, his tan skin glowing under the loft's string lights. His hands found mine steady and warm. "Victor knows," I blurted, my voice cracking. "About us. He's gonna tell my mom if we don't stop." Mateo's grip tightened, his jaw setting. "Stop? Jalen, no. We're not doing that. Not for him, not for anyone." He pulled me to the couch where we sank together, his arm around my shoulders. "We'll figure this out. Together." His certainty was a lifeline, but Victor's words echoed in my skull. "Ruin your life." Was I selfish for holding on? For dragging Mateo into this mess? As I leaned into him, the city's pulse outside seemed to sync with my own. A reminder that love, even under siege, was worth fighting for. But how do you fight a man who holds your family's heart in his hands? The next morning, San Francisco woke under a blanket of fog, but the haze in my mind was thicker. Mateo's words from last night, "We'll figure this out. Together." Clung to me like a promise, but Victor's threat loomed larger. I slipped back into the house before dawn, my sneakers silent on the fire escape, praying Victor hadn't noticed my absence. At breakfast, the kitchen was a battlefield. Mom, 43, her hair pulled into a tired bun, stirred oatmeal with a distracted smile. Victor sat at the table, reading the Chronicle, his silence louder than any shout. I avoided his gaze, my stomach twisting as I poured coffee. "Morning, Jalen," Mom said, her voice warm but frail. "You okay? You look like you didn't sleep." "I'm fine," I lied, forcing a smile. Victor's eyes flicked up, sharp and knowing, but he said nothing. The unspoken truce felt like a ticking bomb. I needed to talk to Mateo again, to plan, but every move felt like stepping on glass. By noon, I was at Mateo's loft again, the smell of turpentine and coffee grounding me. He was painting, his hands streaked with blue, his focus intense. "You didn't sleep either, huh?" he said, wiping his hands and pulling me into a hug. His warmth was a shield, but it couldn't block out the fear gnawing at me. "He's serious, Mateo," I said, pacing the loft. "Victor's not bluffing. If he tells Mom, it'll break her. Her heart, she can't handle stress like this." Mateo's eyes softened, but his voice was firm. "Then we tell her first. On our terms. She loves you, Jalen. She'll understand." I wanted to believe him, but Mom's world revolved around stability, Victor's stability. He'd swooped in after Dad left, offering her a life free of financial strain. She adored him, trusted him. Coming out to her now, with Victor's disapproval hanging over us, felt like betraying her fragile peace. "What if she doesn't?" I whispered. "What if she chooses him?" Mateo cupped my face, his thumbs brushing my cheeks. "Then we face it together. I'm not letting you go, Jalen. Not because of him." His kiss was soft but fierce, a vow sealed in the quiet of the loft. For a moment I believed we could win. But the city had other plans. That afternoon, As we walked through Dolores Park, hand in hand, a familiar figure emerged from the crowd. Victor. He was with a client, his suit crisp, but his eyes locked on us like a predator's. Mateo stiffened, his grip tightening. "Keep walking," he murmured, but Victor was already striding toward us. "Jalen," Victor called, his voice slicing through the park's chatter. "A word." His client, a middle-aged woman, looked confused as he excused himself. I felt the park's eyes on us, the weight of judgment in every glance. "What do you want?" I said, my voice low but defiant. Mateo stood close, a silent pillar. Victor's gaze flicked to our joined hands, his lip curling. "I told you to end this. You're making a mistake, parading around like this." His voice was calm, but the venom was clear. "You think this is love? It's a phase. You'll regret it when the world turns on you." Mateo stepped forward, his voice steady. "You don't get to define us, Victor. Jalen's not your puppet, and neither am I." Victor's eyes darkened, but he didn't raise his voice. "You're dragging him down with you, Alvarez. You think you're special? You're just a distraction." He turned to me, softer now, almost pleading. "Jalen, come home. We'll talk. Just you and me." I wanted to spit in his face, but the memory of Mom's tired smile stopped me. "I'm not ending this," I said, my voice cracking. "You don't own me." Victor's jaw clenched, and for a moment, I thought he'd say more. Instead, he turned and walked away, his client trailing behind. The park's noise rushed back, but the air felt heavier, like the city itself was holding its breath. That night, I couldn't face home. Mateo and I stayed in his loft, curled up on his couch, the city's lights flickering outside. "We need a plan," he said, his voice low. "If he's watching us, we can't just wait for him to make a move." I nodded, but my mind was spinning. Victor wasn't just a stepfather. He was a force, a man who bent the world to his will. How do you fight someone like that without losing everything? As Mateo's arms wrapped around me, I felt the spark of defiance reignite. We'd find a way. We had to. The days that followed were a tightrope walk. Every creak of the house, every glance from Victor, felt like a warning shot. I avoided him as much as I could, slipping out early to meet Mateo or burying myself in my sketchbooks. But the tension was a living thing, coiling tighter with each passing hour. Mom noticed. At dinner one night, her fork paused midair, her brown eyes searching mine. "Jalen, you've been so quiet lately. Is something wrong?" Her voice was soft, but the worry in it cut deep. Victor sat across from her, slicing his steak with surgical precision, his silence louder than any accusation. "Just school stuff," I mumbled, pushing peas around my plate. I couldn't look at her, couldn't bear the thought of her face if Victor dropped his bomb. She reached for my hand, her touch warm but fragile, and I wanted to tell her everything. About Mateo, about Victor's threats, about the love that kept me breathing. But the words choked me. Later, in my room, I texted Mateo, "I can't keep lying to her, but I'm scared." His reply was instant. "Come over. We'll talk it through." I grabbed my jacket and slipped out, the night air sharp against my skin. The city's pulse felt like my own, restless, defiant, alive. Mateo's loft was a haven, but even there, the weight of Victor's shadow lingered. We sat on his bed, surrounded by half-finished murals, the air thick with paint and possibility. "We need to tell her," Mateo said, his voice steady but urgent. "Before he does. She deserves to hear it from you." I nodded, but fear clawed at me. What if she doesn't get it? What if she picks him? The thought was a knife twisting deep. Mom had always been my anchor, the one who saw me when no one else did. Losing her would be like losing the sun. Mateo's hand found mine, his fingers threading through. She won't. She loves you, Jalen, and if she struggles, we'll help her through it. Together. His eyes held mine, fierce and certain, and for a moment, I believed we could do this. But the next day, everything unraveled. I was at the community center helping with an art workshop when my phone buzzed. It was Mom, her voice trembling. Jalen, come home. Now. My heart sank. Victor had made his move. I raced back to the mission, the city blurring past me. When I burst through the door, Mom was in the living room, her face pale, Victor standing behind her like a sentinel. Jalen, she said, her voice breaking. Victor says you're seeing someone. A boy. Is it true? The room spun. I wanted to lie, to protect her, but Mateo's words echoed. She deserves to hear it from you. I took a breath, my hands shaking. Yeah, Mom. His name's Mateo. I love him. Her eyes widened. A mix of shock and something softer. Confusion, maybe, or hurt. Victor stepped forward, his voice calm but cold. I told you, Sandra. He's confused. This isn't who he is. Stop it. I snapped, my voice louder than I meant. You don't get to tell me who I am. Mom, I'm not confused. I'm gay. And Mateo, he's the best thing in my life. Mom's hand flew to her mouth, tears welling. Jalen, why didn't you tell me? Her voice was a whisper, fragile as glass. I don't understand. I need time. Victor's eyes gleamed with triumph, but I didn't care. I said it. The truth was out, raw and real, and it felt like breaking free and falling all at once. Mom turned away, her shoulders shaking, and Victor put a hand on her back, guiding her out of the room. We'll talk later, Jalen, he said, his voice a warning. I stood there, alone, the house's silence deafening. My phone buzzed. Mateo. You okay? I wasn't, but I texted back, told her. She's upset. I don't know what's next. His reply was a lifeline. I'm here. Always. That night I didn't sleep. I stared at my sketchbook, the lines of Mateo's face blurring through tears. I'd fought for us, but at what cost? Mom's tears, Victor's control, the fragile balance of our family. It was all cracking. But as the city's lights flickered outside, I knew one thing. I wasn't giving up. Not on Mateo. Not on myself. The next week was a storm of silence and sidelong glances. Mom barely spoke, her eyes distant, like she was piecing together a puzzle with missing parts. Victor's presence was a constant pressure, his smug calm infuriating. I spent every spare moment with Mateo, his loft my refuge, but even there, the weight of Mom's reaction clung to me. One evening, as we sat on his couch, Mateo traced circles on my palm. She'll come around, he said, his voice soft but sure. Give her time. She loves you. I wanted to believe him, but the memory of her tears haunted me. What if love wasn't enough? Then a breakthrough. I came home one afternoon to find Mom alone in the kitchen, her hands wrapped around a mug of tea. Jalen, she said, her voice steady but quiet. Can we talk? My heart raced, but I nodded, sitting across from her. Victor was out, thank God. I've been thinking, she started, her eyes searching mine, about you and Mateo. I don't understand it all, but I see how you light up when you talk about him. I wish you'd told me sooner. Tears stung my eyes. I wanted to, Mom, But Victor, he made it feel like it was wrong. Like I was wrong. Her face crumpled, and she reached for my hand. You're not wrong, Jalen. You're my son. I love you. I just need to learn to understand. Her words were a bomb, but the shadow of Victor lingered. She hadn't mentioned him, but I knew he was the wall between us and peace. That night, I told Mateo everything, his arms around me as the city hummed outside. She's trying, I said, hope flickering. But Victor's not gonna let this go. Mateo's jaw tightened. Then we face him. Together. He doesn't get to control you or her. His fierceness lit a fire in me. We started planning. Talking late into the night about how to protect our love without breaking Mom's heart. But Victor was always one step ahead. The next day, I overheard him on the phone in his study, his voice low and sharp. Yes, I'll handle it. The kid's out of control, but I'll fix it. My blood ran cold. Fix it? What did that mean? I slipped away before he saw me, my mind racing. I told Mateo, and his eyes darkened. We need to know what he's planning, he said. He's too calculated to just let this slide. We decided to dig carefully. Mateo had a friend, Elena, 26, a tech whiz who worked in cybersecurity. She owed him a favor and agreed to look into Victor's recent calls and emails. No questions asked. 2 days later, Elena met us at a cafe in the Castro, her laptop open. Your stepdad's been busy, she said, her voice low. He's been emailing some lawyer about family matters and mentioned relocation. For you, Jalen. Something about a job in Seattle. Seattle? My heart stopped. Victor was trying to send me away, to rip me from Mateo, from Mom, from everything. He can't do that, I said, my voice shaking. I'm 22. He doesn't own me. Elena's eyes softened. Legally, no. But he's got influence. And money. If he's spinning a story to your mom about saving you, she didn't finish. But the implication was clear. Victor was playing a long game and we were running out of moves. Mateo grabbed my hand under the table, his grip fierce. We're not letting him win. We'll talk to your mom, show her what he's doing. She'll see the truth. I nodded, but fear gnawed at me. Victor's control was a web and we were caught in it. As we left the cafe, the city's vibrancy felt mocking, its colors too bright against the storm in my chest. But Mateo's hand in mine was a reminder. We were fighting for something real, something worth everything, and I wasn't backing down. The plan was simple but terrifying. Confront Mom with the truth about Victor's scheme. Mateo and I spent hours rehearsing, choosing words that wouldn't shatter her fragile trust. But as we walked to the house, the San Francisco fog wrapping around us like a shroud, my courage wavered. What if she didn't believe us? What if Victor had already poisoned her against me? We found her in the living room, alone, a book open but unread in her lap. Mom, I said, my voice steady despite the knot in my chest. We need to talk. About Victor. Her eyes flicked up, wary but open. Mateo stood beside me, his presence a quiet strength. I told her everything, Victor's threats, his plan to send me to Seattle, the emails Elena uncovered. I showed her the screenshots Elena had printed. Victor's words cold and calculated. Jalen needs a fresh start. Seattle's the answer. Mom's face paled, her hands trembling as she read. He said it was for your own good, she whispered, her voice breaking. He said you were lost, that he was protecting you. He's protecting himself, I said, my voice raw. He can't stand that I'm not what he wants, that I love Mateo. He's trying to control us, Mom, all of us. She looked at Mateo, then back at me, tears spilling. I didn't know, she said. I thought he was helping. She stood, pacing, her hands wringing. I need to talk to him. Alone. Panic flared, but Mateo squeezed my hand. Let her, he murmured. She's stronger than you think. We left, my heart pounding, and waited at a nearby diner. The city's hum a distant roar. Hours later, Mom called. Come home, she said, her voice firm but shaky. Victor's gone. Gone? My mind reeled as we raced back. Mom was in the kitchen, her eyes red but resolute. I confronted him, she said. Showed him the emails. He admitted he wanted to fix you. Said it was for me, to keep our family together. She laughed, bitter. I told him to leave. He's staying at a hotel tonight. I need time to think. Relief and fear crashed over me. I hugged her, tears falling. I'm so sorry, Mom. I didn't want this. She held me tight. No, Jalen. I'm sorry. I should have seen it. I should have listened. She looked at Mateo, a small smile breaking through. You take care of my boy, okay? Mateo nodded, his eyes shining. Always. The weeks that followed were a slow healing. Victor moved out, his absence a quiet victory. Mom started attending a support group for parents of LGBTQ kids. Her questions earnest, her love fierce. Mateo and I grew stronger. Our love no longer a secret, but a light that filled the house. I sketched him under the bay's golden sun, each line a promise. One evening, as we sat on the pier, the city sparkling around us, Mateo kissed my forehead. We made it, he said, his voice soft but sure. I nodded, my heart full. Victor's shadow was gone, and in its place was something unbreakable: love, family, truth. The city's pulse beat with ours, a reminder that even in the darkest nights, love could rewrite everything.